के महामहिम राष्ट्रपति 3 साल के लिए नियुक्ति देता है। ये कमीशन में मैं वाइस चेयरमैन हिसाब से काम कर रहा है और आज एक ऐसे सब्जेक्ट लेके मेरे को बोलने के मौका मिला है जो सब्जेक्ट मैं जब 2 दिन पहले ही मेरे पास एक खबर आया तो मेरा बहुत बिजी शेड्यूल था। वो शेड्यूल छोड़ के मैंने सोचा इस बारे में मेरे को प्लीज़ बोलने का मौका मिलना चाहिए। मैं आज सुबह चला आया और SC/ST को सेफगार्ड के लिए महामहिम राष्ट्रपति कमीशन को बनाया है और मेरे को अंदर में ये लगा है आज जिस सब्जेक्ट लेके हम लोग सारे लोग इधर बैठे हैं जी, एक इतने डिजीज जो डिजीज को कोई इलाज नहीं है और इस सब्जेक्ट लेके एक महान व्यक्तित्व दुनिया में इतना रोशन करके नाम लगाया वो हमारा इंडिया में आ रहा है। हमारे देश को इस श्रेणी को सेफगार्ड करने के लिए जिसको सेफगार्ड के लिए कमीशन बनाया महामहिम राष्ट्रपति और इस डिजीज को मुक्त करके इसको सेफगार्ड करने का जो प्रोग्राम में मैं भाग लेने पर इसलिए बहुत आभारी हूँ। जिस लोगों ने आयोजन किया है सबको कमीशन की तरफ से भारत सरकार की तरफ से मैं बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ, क्योंकि ये डिजीज ऐसे एक डिजीज है डिजीज जिसका घर में होता है वही जानता है कि प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है, समस्या क्या होता है। आज मैंने जिंदगी में ऐसे बहुत केस देखा है जो लोगों के पास जो जब हो जाता है इस टाइप का डिजीज, जितने बड़े लोग भी हो और जितने अमीर हो इनका परेशानी क्या होता है। एक बच्चा जब पैदा होने के बाद इस टाइप का डिजीज लेगी ना उनका पिता माता का क्या दर्द होता है और इस सब्जेक्ट लेके अपने जिंदगी में पूरे समय इन लोगों को लगा कि इनका मन में भी ऐसा फीलिंग हुआ है। जो डॉक्टर आज इधर में हमारे इधर में है इतना महान डॉक्टर दुनिया में अपना नाम रोशन करके हमारे जैसे इंडिया में जो पधार हुए हैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दें कि मैं छोटा नहीं करने की विराट सबको लोगों को ये डिजीज होता है अभी। इसलिए मैं इस प्रोग्राम को जैसे आगे जा सकता है इसको साकार रूप हो सकता है। जिस समस्याओं के सामने कठिन परिस्थितियों के सामने पढ़ना पड़ सकता है, लेकिन उस सब्जेक्ट में हम लोगों के एक अच्छा दिशा लेके भारत में एक काम जैसे चल सकता है इसी हिसाब से हम लोग चलेंगे और इस सेक्टर को जिसका पास अभी मैंने सुना है ज़्यादा कुछ इस विषय पर मेरा ज्ञान नहीं है, लेकिन जो मैंने अनुभव किया मेरे दिल से मेरा हार्ट हृदय से जो अनुभव किया है जो ये सब्जेक्ट लेके इस टाइप का डिजीज को दूर करने के लिए लोगों को बहुत सारे अवेयरनेस होना चाहिए, अवेयरनेस देना चाहिए। क्योंकि डिजीज जब हो जाता है तब तो कुछ करने का मौका नहीं मिलता है, लेकिन डिजीज किसके लिए होता है इसके जो अवेयरनेस लोगों को अंदर में इस प्लेटफॉर्म की तरफ से एक सब्जेक्ट अलग से रखना चाहिए जो क्या करने से इस डिजीज से हम लोग बच सकता है। ये भी हम लोगों को इस अवेयरनेस होना चाहिए इस प्रोग्राम की तरफ से। तो जो जिसको डिजीज हो गया उसको इलाज कैसे हो सकता है, जितनी इजी प्रोसेस में हो सकता है इस विषय पर लेके हम लोग चर्चा करेंगे। देश भर में ये प्रोग्राम होना चाहिए। आज इन लोग चले जाने का बावजूद इन लोग बिजी शेड्यूल में, लेकिन इसको आगे से आगे देश पे कोने कोने में लेके जाने का काम हम लोगों को करना पड़ेगा और उसके बाद ही हमारे इस सेक्टर को जिस सेक्टर में सेफगार्ड के आज बात उठे उस सेक्टर हम लोग सेफगार्ड कर पाएंगे और उसको हम लोग बचा पाएंगे और बहुत ऐसे माँ बाप को हम लोग को आशीर्वाद हम लोगों को मिलेगा जिसको पहले से ही हम लोग अवेयरनेस देके उनको उसको अलर्ट कर सकता है। इसके लिए हमको काम करना पड़ेगा। समाज के लिए हम लोग अगर आया है इस समाज के लिए हम लोग काम करना पड़ेगा। लोग बहुत बड़े बड़े लोग इस सेक्टर की समाज से हम लोग बहुत बड़े लेवल में आ जाता है, कोई डॉक्टर बन जाता है, कोई साइंटिस्ट बन जाता है, लेकिन जिस समाज हम लोगों को डॉक्टर बनाया मंत्री बनाया इस समाज को भी आज कुछ रिटर्न देने का टाइम आ गया। तो रिटर्न देने का बहुत बड़ा मौका इस सब्जेक्ट से आपका सामने आ गया। इस समाज को हम लोग कुछ इस सब्जेक्ट लेके सामने जाके हम समाज को कुछ रिटर्न देंगे, ये शपथ लेके हम लोग इसी जगह से जाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. May I now request Mr. Anand Singh to join us here on stage. He is the founder, director of Beverly Hills Family Office Networks and a fund manager. He has accompanied Dr. Itaka Nihara to India to examine various investment possibilities. May I request Mr. Rahul to please felicitate Mr. Anand. Mr. Anand, Anand, may I request you to say a few words?
Dr. Nehara is a dear friend. Dr. Nehara, getting to know what he was actually doing and what his mission in life was so impressive to us that we started to understand the need and tried to understand what sickle cell was. And when we understood what sickle cell was in India, we took it upon ourselves to convince him to move forward and come to India, to accelerate the timetable and not concentrate on Africa or the Middle East, continue his work there, but make India a priority. This disease affects children. Most children die that get this. This will be a life-saving drug that will be able to save little children, babies will be able to grow up, and people will be able to live their lives mostly pain-free. So that is the hope, and we are here, and we are grateful for the opportunity to be here, and we look forward to this. माननीय मंत्री महोदय से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपका आशीर्वाद और आपके आश्वासन से हम बहुत प्रसन्न हैं और हम ये देखेंगे कि इस देश में और विश्व में इस रोग से राहत मिले। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much for getting Dr. Nehara here, for getting the medicine here. I know you have a big contribution towards that. So thank you very much. May I now
A question.
How is the sickle cell disease in India impacting 20 million people?
Well, I would not know the exact answer except that gene, somehow there was a mutation under the malaria belt in India, and this gene ordinarily would really be a disadvantage to humanity, but because of malaria, this gene survived, and unfortunately, there are some patients who suffer from sickle cell disease and they have to experience the consequence of the disease. But by and large, most people survive by having this one gene. So I know that's the reason why it's high, but why 20 million, that part I would not know. It's very, very large. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And doctors, what will be the take on this? I mean, 20 million people have been affected. Anything you would like to put on?
I can add to the question, answer to your question is that India is a subcontinent where the 50,000 years before the migration has taken place. And in fact, not only that part, this migration has traced from where the disease has come. And the entire migration is just before around maybe 10,000 years before has reached in India. And the zonal, that's the reason coastal areas are more affected than the central part of the Indian lateral migration. And it has also helped us. The evolution of the human race, where it started, that this particular evolution pattern of sickle cell has helped us to that. The entire disease evolved in Africa in the race of survival against the malaria.
Okay, and next question for Dr. Pradeep Mahajan. If there is no medicine available right now, at the moment, how is the treatment being given to the patients?
In fact, there was a time in 1972, it was a Society of Sickle Cell Disease was formed in US. I believe that at the time when hydroxyurea people looking at that. Recently, after hydroxyurea, there are many molecules have come which may have change in genetic expressions to some extent, modifying the gene and making the disease more milder. But to the extent where it is a disease, the quality of the disease is very high level. In that case, it's probably we have only choice of bone marrow transplant or otherwise they reduce the crisis by using the modalities which are coming to existence, and third, the genetic additions which will be coming in the future.
Thank you for your input. And another question will be again for Dr. Nehara. How is Indari different from any other treatments that are currently available?
Well, thank you. hydroxyurea is one of the simplest chemotherapeutic agents, and as the doctor mentioned, since 1970s, we knew that if we give urea, something called hemoglobin F is going to increase, and it helps sickle cell disease. But urea was making patients so thirsty all the time, and sickle cell patients cannot get dehydrated. So we stopped using this, so we moved to hydroxyurea. But we knew hydroxyurea is, although it's a simple and somewhat lightest form of chemotherapeutic agent used for cancer, because sickle cell disease is worse than cancer, we felt that this helps patients in many ways. We should utilize it, and this just describes how bad sickle cell disease is and how desperate some of us were. If we looked into sickle cell disease better, we would probably came up with better treatment. Now, so there's hydroxyurea 1. We still use it, and for some patients it's effective in reducing the crisis, but it does not reduce hospitalization. And we're not sure what it does to acute chest syndrome. We have another treatment that is, 2 other treatments approved right now, and both of these treatments are, complication is so severe, many patients just cannot tolerate them. And certainly, excuse me, it cannot be brought to the rural area. And then there is gene therapy. Gene therapy, we have a lot of hope for, and we wanted gene therapy to be quite successful. But all I have to say is it's still in a very primitive state. It was recently approved by the United States. But it costs $5 million to administer gene therapy. And then for sickle cell disease, the only one case that successfully done, and it's really not approved for sickle cell disease, it's been approved only for thalassemia. So what happened to all the cases that they tried but was not successful in sickle cell disease? We talked a lot about this one patient who survived. The rest of the patients weren't successful, meaning many of them died during the treatment. So we really hope that we're going to improve on gene therapy someday, because that's actually a cure. Bone marrow treatment is also available, but it's only available to very, very few patients where matched gene is available. And usually family members provide the gene, yet family members tend to have sickle cell disease, so they won't be a good candidate. And that's a problem because of lack of the donors. So that's the...
Just to add that what makes Endari different is that the FDA has shown it to be the safest drug with almost no complications of any kind, so that there is no testing required prior to or during the treatment. And the treatment can be self-administered. So it's a very different treatment plan, and something that, in my view, is certainly tailor-made for India, where medical facilities can be a challenge for people to get to. So this can be part of a Anganwadi program or many of the other programs that are in the market, where locally it can be distributed and managed without any kind of blood testing going forward.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And talking about Endari, what made you think of introducing Endari into Indian market?
Basically, the simplicity of it. Most of medical treatments require some form of refrigeration or some form of temperature control. This is quite difficult when you're trying to go into rural areas.
And I'd like to make sure to add that at this point of all the data put together, Endari is the most effective treatment available for sickle cell disease.
And also, even in the US, it is actually the most reasonable treatment as far as lowest cost treatment. So all of these things combined together make it a perfect match for the Indian market. Ease of use, high efficacy, low occurrence of any kind of complications, and what looks like improving patient outcomes, meaning that in early studies, what the company and other researchers are finding is that not only is Indari helping to normalize the sickle cell, but it's also in early stages showing that there's repair to organ damage. So when there's an acute event and it attacks the liver, it's not just attacking the liver as in there's pain in the liver, it's actually destroying cells in the liver. And this is helping to actually reverse it.
Fantastic. And talking about the availability, when will Indari be available in Indian markets?
I'm sorry, we didn't hear that one.
Talking about the availability, when do you think when you will be making Indari available in Indian market?
In India. Wow, as soon as possible. And typically,
As soon as approvals are done from the government side,
Okay.
and then even if we have to donate, we'll donate it as much as possible to create programs that work. We're ready, and the government is ready, and so we will all work together.
Sooner we'll see. Okay, okay. And will that be very much cost effective, especially considering the tribals will be able to afford Indari? That is our major perspective also, I think so. Will that be cost effective?
Costs are determined. There will be negotiations, I'm sure, with governments as well as with insurance companies, reinsurers. There will be different payment levels depending on ability to pay, and certainly the company will do its best, and as will its bankers, to make sure that it's available.
It's available. I mean, it's cost effective in a sense. Okay. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much, and thank you, lovely audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. Big round of applause for all the panelists over here. Hand over the stage to a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Dr. Pradeep Mahajan. Dr. Chandrasekhar Azad Singh. Dr. Neeraj Jha. Dr. Rishi Agarwal. Rashi, I'm so sorry. A big round of applause for Dr. Rashi. Dr. Swapnil Pandey. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Pandey. And now request Dr. Ranganath Chawar to please join us on stage. Dr. Dattatreya Shivaji Chaudhary. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Mr. Haldar. And now I want to ask you guys, because we've learned so much, if you have any questions to the panelists over here, may I please request the panelists to join us back on stage? And for Dr. Nihara, any questions? Can we pass the mic around, please? If press has any questions, if guests have any questions.
First, first of all, namaste and a very good evening to
आलेला आहे आणि तो म्हणजे एससीडी बद्दल अतिशय महत्त्वाची माहिती डॉक्टर निहारा यांनी आपल्यापर्यंत पोहोचवलेली आहे. त्यासाठी डॉक्टर निहारा आणि सर्व पॅनलिस्ट यांचे मी मनापासून आभार व्यक्त करते. डॉक्टर्स हे सातत्याने काम करत आहेत आणि रुग्णसेवाही देत आहेत आणि म्हणूनच त्यांना ही शाबासकीची थाप ही मिळायलाच हवी. म्हणूनच हा पुरस्कार सोहळा आपण आज इथे आयोजित केलेला होता. खूप प्रमाणात सध्या आजार वाढू लागलेले आहेत आणि त्याच्या दुप्पट गतीने डॉक्टर्स हे नवनवीन औषधांचा शोध लावत आहेत. त्याचप्रमाणे नवनवीन रिसर्चेस हे समोर आणत आहेत. रोगांचं लवकर निदान होणं.
But you don't really have to have gene therapy to do this.
Mr. Anand, may I request you to say a few words? Dr. Rajesh Dere. Mr. Rajesh Shah.
चालू है तो
Dr. Rajesh Dere.
वो लोग मूवमेंट कर रहे हैं और कैमरा फिक्स करके ये क्या है क्लियर नहीं वो से बोल रहे चालू नहीं किया तुमने यार कितना ऐसा चेहरा तो क्लियर
Dr. Pradeep Mahajan. Dr. Chandrasekhar Azad Singh. Dr. Neeraj Jha. Dr. Rishi Agarwal. Rashi, I'm so sorry. A big round of applause for Dr. Rashi. Dr. Swapnil Pandey. Your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Pandey. And now request Dr. Ramnath Chawar to please join us on stage. Dr. Dattatreya Shivaji Chaudhary. Thank you, Mr. Allar. And now I want to ask you guys, because we've learned so much, if you have any questions to the panelists over here, may I please request the panelists to join us back on stage. And for Dr. Nihara, any questions?